Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, including Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Star Wars Rebels, Moonbeam City, and RWBY. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Yo.
Today, Delaney and I are discussing the latest episode of Moonbeam City, Lasers and Liars. It is the, I don't know what episode number this is, 6th episode of the first season of Moonbeam City, although the 3rd produced episode in the series, which is interesting. We discussed...
It's amazing.
That it's the 3rd episode produced, or the episode in general?
Both.
Okay. We discuss Moonbeam City every week here on the Overly Animated Podcast. You can find more about us at overlyanimated.com. And yeah. As always, our Moonbeam City podcasts, unlike our other regular television coverage, may not be suitable for younger audiences, much like the show we are covering. Lasers and Liars. Let's get right into it. Delaney, what did you think of this absurd, as usual, episode of Moonbeam City?
It was amazing. Oh my god, it's everything I've ever wanted. It's like a whole episode about pizzazz. It's perfect. So great. There was even like very little dazzle. Like, what a quality perfect episode.
There was relatively little dazzle.
Like, it was great. And then like it just all of it, like everything this episode was amazing. And there was chrysalis and pizzazz stuff. Like, it's just a great episode. This is like, I've been waiting for this episode. I didn't think I'd get it. This is amazing.
Yeah, this was I mean, every week the show just seems like...
In Mythology, we know Moonbeam City now. We understand vaguely what the heck is going on.
Yeah, that was probably the best part of the episode. I think the crazy backstory for Moonbeam City. I appreciated that a lot. Every week this show seems like it is the most absurd thing, and here again it was just incredibly crazy. Here we have just a ton of great elements that I think make up probably the best episode of the show so far. I mean, the focus on pizzazz is interesting. I don't think that's inherently strong or not strong. Pizzazz's sisters function pretty well in the episode. It's good to get into her more. She seems like a character now, Pizzazz. And we get, as you mentioned, a mythology for the show, which is fittingly absurd, and I think it works very well. We get probably, I mean, I think at this point it's evident that the strongest part of the show is Red, which is kind of crazy, but he's the only one who's consistently like funny and inventive, his plot lines. And here Rad is just incredibly absurd, and they just keep going for like 10 minutes with this one concept for him. That's so atypical for the show. Usually, like, the show can't stay put for more than a minute before it has to move on to the next crazy thing. And this Rad plotline is just, it's one concept, and it's funny, and they stick with it for a while, and kudos to them for not doing the typical Moonbeam City thing. So I think that worked really well. And
it grounded the episode.
It really did. Yeah, I agree. Because the stuff that was happening with Pizzazz's main plot was definitely absurd and it's hard to follow. But we also, most importantly, have Chrysalis being me. And I think that you are not Chrysalis anymore. I think Chrysalis is now me because she has a proprietary checklist system. And I felt her so much here in this one. It was I connected on a deep level with Chrysalis here. So I had to love this episode. Yeah, like what do you think's the highlight for you? Do you think Pizzazz, what do you think when you remember watching the episode last night? Do you think it's the Pizzazz plotline?
Yeah, the Pizzazz plotline. I don't know, like the dad and like the crowd, like being cryogenically frozen and just. I mean, yeah, the mythology too. Like that is just like, were we? No one was expecting to get like a background on Moonbeam City. Like what?
It's such a good idea, though. Like, thank you for doing this, because we've been talking about, is the show in the future? Is it in the 80s? Why are there just random lasers everywhere? And now we get the most absurd possible plotline. Yeah, let's go over this. So Pizzazz is the husbands too. Yeah. If there's a quote unquote problematic part of the episode to me, it's what they end up doing with that plotline, but it's like not even on the same level as last week's badness, so it's fine. Let's go over the what we learned about the mythology of the show. Pizzazz is a heiress to the laser fortune, apparently. She's like, Daddy,
The laser ball.
the laser ball. Yeah, they're having that, which didn't make sense at first. Did you understand that this was a name? Like, I don't know.
No,
Yeah, I didn't.
I was like,
It made no sense until halfway through the episode.
yeah, I
Uh,
was like, okay, lasers, cool.
Laser's cool. Yeah. Um, what do we know the dad's name? I don't remember. It was something absurd. He struck a laser. There were laser wells, a laser empire, and it made a glittering metropolis. But the sisters inherited it, and then like she then listed off what the sisters did with the lasers, and it was just things we actually think of lasers doing.
Yes.
Which are apparently the bad things for them. And now the city is crime ridden because they used lasers for how we think of lasers being used, and not for what were they used for before? Lighting up the city? Like
Yeah, like I don't.
that didn't make
No,
any
that's
sense.
what I really enjoy is like you completely feel for Pizzazz and like even and, like and the dad's like Pizzazz is like my favorite kid, but then the entire time you're like I don't understand what they did. That was so wrong.
It seems like they
Like
just had
what?
more practical uses for it, but apparently not. I mean, obviously we're using lasers to stand in for like oil here, but it didn't seem like it was an energy source or anything.
Well, no, I think that's what it was. I think it's kind of going off of like you're wasting precious lasers. I
I
just it might not have come off as well as they intended.
We definitely did not have them explicitly or implicitly beyond like the connection saying that this was powering anything. I think, but it could have been.
No, well, I think that was like the intention. It might not have just
I'm
come
not
off
sure if it
like
was
as
the
well.
intention. I feel like the intention was to be vague, or at least I hope it was. Um,
Who knows?
like I think that's smarter. But okay? What do you think of beyond this, which is incredible and gives great depth to the show, and it makes sense. This was the third produced episode that they would establish the backstory here, but they didn't air it
Yeah.
until now, so that's a little unfortunate. What do
Well, I
we?
think I think airing it after the other Pizzazz episode was a good idea.
It what this does, they talk about it in the AV Club review actually this week by let's mention that by Jesse Hassinger, and the weekly plug, and airing it now like lessens the blow from last week's kind of badness, so I guess that's a good thing. However, one of the bad parts of last week's was that you take this character we know who isn't even developed, and maybe it's worse because she wasn't a character yet there. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it would have been any better really like
Probably not any better,
if it had
but
been aired.
and at the very least, this takes the bad taste out of your mouth. So maybe that was a strategic airing by Comedy Central. I'm not sure. What do we think of Pizzazz's what 3, 4 sisters? How many are there? 4. The main one being Panache, and who Dazzle kind of dates for like a day. What's the timeline for this episode? Was it a
Who
day?
even knows? I think it's like a day and a half maybe.
So we have panache, charisma, sophistica, and accoutrement. Or is it accoutrement? I don't know.
Accoutrement.
Yeah, a little bit of ambiguity on her name. So what do we think of these characters?
They're awesome. Like it's really funny. I don't know. It's just great.
I,
We
I,
just
I
have like these terrifying power sisters.
yeah, and it's. I mean, their names are good, and then they're you don't expect to like have a detailed thing for each one. I guess for me, the best thing they did with them was eventually the increasingly absurd things with their slapping arms. I feel like that really
The
worked.
slap fight. Oh my god.
Yeah, but one of them took steroids to enhance their slapping arms, and then one of them had a bionic slapping arm, and that was great.
The bionic slapping. No, it was a bionic like slapping blade. And I'm
Slapping
like, this is
blade.
so good.
Yeah, this that was like that in a normal episode of this show. That would have been like only the second thing they did out of 5, but here it was like good. It was they saved it for the end, and I think that worked a lot better, and that was really good.
Oh yeah, it was just like, what is going on? And they kind of built it up really well because, like, for whatever reason, everyone's getting slapped in this episode.
Oh, really interesting. I don't know if I was consciously aware of the increasing slaps.
They were like just. I mean, it just was very like because that hadn't really happened before in like the show yet. Like people being slapped like frequently.
Nice
So
thematic element of slapping in this episode.
slapping.
Yeah.
Ooh, good job.
What do you think of Pizzazz's relationship with her cryogenically frozen father in here? She
It's
calls him
adorable.
daddy a lot and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, I enjoy it. It's great. Like, his ass has a heart.
Apparently, yeah.
I don't know, and I thought it was really sweet at first because like she's like, why didn't anyone tell me? And I was like, oh, poor pizzazz.
Yeah. That was the most sympathetic thing she's done, probably, other than yeah. Okay, so we have that. Okay, and then the other section of that plot, I guess, is the husbands, and Dazzle. And Dazzle does kind of get relegated for most of this, and he's although he has the intro and the ending, I guess. So, like, what
Yeah.
do we think of this intro to the episode, with her, which are like street cams of Dazzle going, and
Like,
then
what
what
you?
was the? I didn't understand what this was. The
Okay. I finally figured it out. It took me a little bit. So it's Slut Burger. So
yeah.
like it's like a food truck, but then like obviously it's called Slut Burger. There are other things going on, but like and they actually serve food. So like people were upset because they really liked Slut Burger for like various reasons.
See, I thought I heard slop burger, but it's, I guess, slut burger. I
I
don't.
could have been wrong. I heard
I
Slut
don't
Burger.
know. Yeah, I don't think I don't see. I feel
It took
like
like concept didn't make sense for a little bit. Finally, I understood what they were saying, and I was like, "Oh,
it makes more sense if, like, well, what they usually do at Dazzle is have him just fucking like anyone, regardless of whether or not
yeah."
that's the typical function of them, right? So I don't know if this needed to be a specific thing that other people do. It's just like a thing that
Well,
Dazzle.
there also could have been a chance that that's not what it was about. It was literally a restaurant, and then that happened.
Yeah, that's kind of how I interpreted it, which was really baffling.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get this at
No, it
all.
was really confusing. I mean, and of course, I didn't even understand that they served food. Like the comments he was making, I was like, "What the hell, Dazzle?" And then finally, when Pizzazz was like yelling at him, I was like, "Oh." It
Yeah,
was very. The intro was like it was funny and like I enjoyed how it looked different, but it was just like I don't understand what's going on.
it was
Which is
very weird. Yeah. Um, what were we talking about? Oh, the husbands. Okay, what do you think of this? These husbands of the sisters, and I don't know what the main notable thing about them is, but
well, I thought it was it was entertaining because like usually we have like the rich husbands and then the like
yeah,
trophy wives.
yeah,
Funny like twist on that, and also it goes well with like Rad's storyline too. Like because he's talking to like those rich men, and I don't know, just it matches up well, and I thought it was funny. Like
Are you
they're
saying
just
wealth?
chilling in there.
Wealth is the theme of this episode.
The shocker.
Wow, yeah, yeah. I liked
But
this. I like these trophy husbands for most of it until the end. When the show I think the show has a problem with putting its foot in its mouth, but like it's at the end they're like the castration procedure is virtually painless, and um, like if I as someone who is not able to personally take offense for things that a lot of things that I get upset over, like sexism things. I'm gonna get upset over them, but can't necessarily personally take offense. This is the one thing I can personally get offended at
the
because
one thing.
yeah. So making fun of males that don't meet the societally prescribed masculine label, that I am personally offended by this joke. It doesn't matter that much. Like, I don't really care about it, but it was a little took a little wind out of the sails for that for me.
Well, the part I got like out of that, like kind of like the reverse of what you said, because like obviously I'm not a male, but what the part that got was for me it was like that um women who are like this like it kind of was talking about how it's kind of like it's a rude commentary on women also like that oh you have like the harpy witch wife or like that kind of thing like does that
Yeah,
make sense?
the sisters definitely fit like the typical kind of uh mean inherent like
Which that didn't bother me as much as like that line did because then it was like oh it's implying like does that make sense like that actually upset me more than like their interactions with each other.
which line?
The castration part like that's what that like that part.
Oh yeah, so it's like it's from the angle of it's they have to have complete control over their husbands. But I feel like that was also kind of implied by the rest of the episode too.
Oh no, it was,
Yeah.
but it just the line made it worse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not. I don't think this is nearly on the same level as last week's stuff, but it's annoying. I guess I would prefer
It's like I go ahead.
I think in its efforts to go for the show to go beyond, keep going past the typical jokes and stuff. They're going to run into this a lot, and I think they need to figure out where to put up the wall before, because it's not necessarily the problem. Isn't that it's offending anyone? Like if the show wants to be offensive, it can be the typical, adult comedy offensive show.
Yeah.
The problem is that it takes me out of the episode, and I'm not going to be laughing at it if I'm taken out of the episode. So that's the big problem, critical quality wise with it.
Yes. And then also, like, granted, that also wasn't nearly as bad was like the period jokes, which at first that annoyed me. I was like, "Are you serious?"
Was there more than one? There was one that was obvious in the beginning with Dazzle.
Well, yeah, the obvious. Well, then also like the diverted rage and the like, oh my god, what's wrong with me? Like, oh my god, really? Like, can we not? Like, basically, the like angry woman being like, because they were actually hinting at it before Dazzle said that, which I mean I'm used to having to read having to deal with like these kinds of like this kind of dialogue and stuff like that. So as a girl gets mad and they're like, oh, are you on your period? Like, I'm gonna punch you in the face, and it has nothing to do with my period. I'm just gonna punch you in the face.
Yeah, I guess the show was. I mean, I think that the show would obviously say that it's trying to spoof this concept in shows, right?
Yeah, no. Well, it was. Well, at the end, it wasn't so bad when they said diverted rage, because like there actually was another reason. It wasn't because she was on her period. It's because like her sisters and crap.
Yeah.
And then
do you think the show succeeds at parodying it?
I do, and well, the funniest part, like Dazzle's line obviously was annoying, but then he like obviously didn't understand what it was, which was kind of like the funny part. Like he kept saying it, but he didn't know what he was talking about. Like he had no concept of what it was. Like she appears to visit every month. Like he had no idea what he was talking about, and it was kind of
so like, you're saying Dazzle does not understand what a period is? Is that?
No, he didn't. Like he was like, she appears to visit every month, and then of course like the abortion like joke, which was in poor taste, but the fact that Dazzle delivered it made it, I guess, okay. I don't know, because he was like, except for, and the fact that he was aware, like what, like Dazzle, why are you like, how do you know about like his periods? Like, why are you like, what? Because he was like listing the months, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
See, I don't remember this at all. Wow, I guess enough happened in the episode that I just don't remember the beginning of it. But that seems like something Dazzle would do, honestly.
It was really
okay. Let's do our weekly check-in on Dazzle. What do we think of his function within this? Within this husband's club? And I mean, in the beginning, he was dating Panache, and he has this whole thing with her and stuff like that. What do you? We have our recent Dazzle competency check, and last week we kind of said Dazzle is professionally competent but socially incompetent. Do you think this episode supports that?
I mean, yeah, probably. Granted, this is also just different. Dazzle really wasn't there a lot. Like he just really wasn't in the episode very much.
Yeah.
Granted, we're gonna have to backtrack on the professionally competent, because he let a child predator return to the walls of the prison and have it.
That was so good. I love that gag. But he was like conscious that he was doing it though. So I feel like that's not incompetency. Yeah. He just didn't care.
He doesn't. Yeah, he just doesn't care.
I mean, he said, "Meet me back here later."
And come back free. Like what?
That was great. He's like, "Oh, I arrested this. Yeah, this. Well, I don't know. I could find the exact line, but it was great."
It was just like what?
So, what do we think of Dazzle being on the sidelines here? Good move.
Definitely a good move. Like it's like, and it was also funny because then Dazzle would be like, "Hey, Pizzazz, friend from work." Pizzazz was just like gonna like kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he functioned really well in this episode, like kind of being on the sidelines, but like still like doing like Dazzle things.
Yeah, I think he functioned well. He wasn't like in the past. He's kind of been this almost negative force on the episodes, whereas all the other characters are gelling really well. And I think since he's the main character, you have to get him to a point where he can be the lead in episodes and function well. And maybe this doesn't help you get to that point, but at least for this episode, it worked.
It was also kind of cute too, because he was like really concerned about Pizzazz the entire time.
Interesting. Do you think he
Like,
was?
not the entire time, but like he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to go rescue them from Pizzazz." And then he was like, "No!" Like I don't know. It was just like
Oh
it was
yeah,
pretty
once he
cute.
saw her being attacked by them, yeah.
Yeah,
So
like I
do you
don't know.
think
It was
this
very.
will improve their relationship in the future? I guess not, since this was the third episode.
I mean,
Then
I doubt it.
yeah. Okay, let's. So I think Dazzle functioned well here, to be determined in the future. Let's talk about Rad. So this Rad plotline is literally just Rad for some reason thinks he needs to pretend to be rich and then has to prove it to these three guys, and then it just completely escalates in. It's not even that it escalates; it just keeps going in the same thing. Like
It just goes on forever.
he has to convince them of that he owns the boat, and then he has to
I mean, they
sing, yeah,
basically abducted him.
and then he like it's just it's what a great decision to have them like believe him the whole time.
You
Um,
know, that's the best part until finally at the end, where like the most absurd thing happens, and then
yeah,
they're like, "No, bye."
yeah, that's the one thing that convinced them that it's nothing, and so he had to. It convinced them of the boat, and then he had to sing the thing, and then he had to go there, and then it talks about blues records for the entire time, and he just had to keep listing it off. And the best part about this is, and this is why I think Rad's the strongest character on the show right now, is they've done it twice now, last episode too, where Rad has clearly had an option to just get out of it, and he
He
just
just does it.
he's just incapable of, like, he feels the need to prove himself even though it's obvious that he's just listing things off, like he's just listing things off that he's seeing, and for some reason his character like needs to keep going with it. And it happened last week with the you can walk out of here now if you can't make the drugs, and this is a great another aspect of that. Rad is just such
No, it's
a
great.
delight right now. Yeah.
It's great.
It's I think this is playing to a character strength, like with that element of him. I think this is playing to Will Forte's strength. I think this is kind of a classic Will Forte thing here, and I'm worried about Rad being lost in his voice actor too much, but at least here it functioned really well.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was just fantastic.
Yeah. What do we have to? I mean, there's not much to comment on. It's just continued, like,
Yeah, no, it
and
was
just
just
and just
it
them.
was just crazy.
It's just absurd because he keeps saying things and then the guys believe him, but it's also
His
just
wife
apparently things that
died in
exist. Oh yeah, his wife died on the boat fire too. That was great. Yeah,
Dorothy.
yeah,
Like what?
on his daddy's three princesses boat, which is his balls and his penis. Yeah, that was a good
And
save. Good save, Fred.
right? And then he just like, and then the guy rushes up and he punches him into the
Yeah,
ocean.
that was great. That was the equivalent of Dazzle throwing the body into the ocean. Yeah. Just quickly taking care of it. Rad, that's the thing. Rad kind of remains competent too throughout all of this. It's like obviously Rad can just do, like, he worms his way into like this yacht club or whatever, right?
Just bullshitted the entire episode. It was
Yeah,
beautiful.
he bullshitted the whole episode, and that was just a great use. Rad just has had the best between the dolphin plotline with Rad, with him last episode being the drug lord, which wasn't even one of the top three strongest ones, and then him with on Crime Busters, him recounting his recounting of what happened was incredible too. So like, keep playing to your strengths, keep having Rad as the entire B plot on his own. I think that's a good idea.
It's great. Just read on dumb adventures.
Yeah. Okay. Let's quickly run through notable jokes that I missed. Um, do you think this? Okay, pure humor wise, do you think this was? Where do you think this ranked on the other episodes? Like funniness, obviously subjective, but
I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. Not necessarily like the funniest episode ever, but because I mean, it was. I'm not gonna say it was plotty, but like it was much more like I don't know, like not serious. I don't know how to like. It just wasn't like laugh out loud funny. I guess.
yeah. Oh, I found one of my
I mean,
favorite. I agree. It wasn't the most laugh out loud, but it was like pleasantly funny. You know, the
yeah,
entire Rad plotline wasn't necessarily laughing at, but it was just
just
pleasant to watch,
ridiculous.
I guess.
Yes.
Dazzle says, "Oh, and there's this dangerous predator living in the walls of a preschool. Ignore him." And then later, after, and the best part is when they cut to when Panache comes in, "Hello, little sister," and then they have reaction shots, and they ends the segment on the predator's surprised face, and that was great.
Oh
Um,
no, like the funniest thing where all the sisters have different shadows.
I keep not noticing this. I'm really missing out on a
Oh my god,
fundamental aspect of the
you're
show
missing
here.
like you're missing like the best visual gag in the whole
Yeah, I
like
keep
in the
missing this. I
whole
don't know.
show. Like it makes me so happy. Like one of them was like a diamond, and like I was just dying. Like because it was really funny. The first time I noticed, like they flashed like um panache, and it was like hers are like vertical, and then like hers are like opposite to Pizzazz's, but then like the sisters all show up and they're all like different shapes. Like I think one was like a square, and then one was like a diamond. Like it's so great. Like like that gag is my favorite thing. Like I will never not laugh at it. Like it's so funny.
This is the Mabel sweater of the show. Just
Yes,
things I
it's
don't
so
notice. Yeah.
great.
Okay,
It's
that's
so. How do you not notice Mabel's sweater? I mean, I've yelled at you, but that's
I
different.
don't know. I don't notice either of these things. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So there you go. I mean, I believe you all. It's I need to. I might rewatch it just for that, like to see, because
Like
that
it's
seems really good.
the scene where they all show up. Like that's where they go around the room and they do the shadows. It's
When
amazing.
they're each in their corner in the thing.
No, not yeah, in the corner, not the mantle room, but like when
Oh,
they
not
all
in.
like
Oh, okay, not the mantle room. Okay.
yeah, when they all appear and that's when they introduce their names and like every they flashed every single one of them their shadows on their faces and it's so good.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Let's we need to talk about. I mentioned it in the intro, but Chrysalis wants to do security. I'll do it. It'll give me a chance to try out my proprietary checklist system. It uses color coded Roman numerals. Yes, yes,
So
and then later she susses out Dazzle on top of the shoulders of the old woman. Yeah. So Chrysalis, oh my goodness, I don't know. I guess she's just a combination of us because that was me there. Yeah. Uh,
effects.
yeah.
I don't ruin this for me. And then
Yeah. Wait, we'll get back. I have something else to Chrysalis to talk about in a minute, but let me keep going through the notes looking for other gags that I missed. Yeah, the names. It was the names I feel like were not obvious to pick up on. Accoutrement, I guess that's the supposed to be the funniest one, you know. Um well known the whole with the oh yeah, so I missed the best part of the rad gag, which is they get the blues expert
no, I
there,
was gonna say that. Yeah, the
and
expert.
he says you have to have this guy in your connection, and Rat says no, that's a well-known fake. So he's like, what comes over him that he would need to try to prove he needs to have
And
the
then the
ultimate
other guy was
credibility.
like, yeah, and then the other guys are like, this makes me question,
Yeah.
like, what? It's so good.
Yeah, and then at the end, what was the name of this thing at the end?
Something
I
Jefferson.
have
I
it
don't
written
even
down.
remember.
Jimmy Jefferson or something like that. Yeah, and just the Rat. It's not that just the Rat has to get by. He feels like he has to have the ultimate credibility too among them. It's
I
so
know
good.
it's like has to be right.
Yeah.
Even though he's speaking the entire time, he's so committed.
Yeah. Oh, now when the Pizzazz's dad at the end or Pizzazz, now I've broken your heart again, and she's like literally picking up
I know.
the fragment of his
So
heart.
great.
Yeah, and
Oh my
that
god, when he breaks, that is so funny. Like you're not supposed to laugh, but he like shatters.
no,
Like
you're
what?
supposed to laugh at that. That was great, and his mouth segment is talking. It's great.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, that was and yeah, that was good for the running through the show notes. Okay, how about we're checking in on our Pizzazz and Chrysalis segment of the week, because this is apparently a thing now.
They spoke like 3 times.
Well, the main thing is that Pizzazz says, "Back off, girly," and then Chrysalis says, "Whoa, I'm not a threat to you." So analyze
Yeah.
that.
So obviously she's not a threat to her because they're going to end up together and she loves her, clearly.
No, okay. Like, what is actually with that dialogue though? Why? What are they
I don't
spoofing
even
here?
know. I'm not a threat to you. What? What is like it's the weirdest dialogue.
I guess they're making fun of like the perception that businesswomen are territorial in these type of
Yeah.
shows.
Like the alpha woman like
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
I guess that's what it is. What do we think of Pizzazz not wanting to give the security lead to Chrysalis?
I don't know.
She only
Like,
reluctantly does it at the end. Yeah.
Like I was a little confused by it. I don't know, like it doesn't even make sense in like the period joke context either. Like,
I don't know. Yeah,
you know,
I was
I guess
missing out on the I was missing out on this episode on two levels too. I didn't pick up on all the period jokes either.
well,
Um,
I think it was the I guess because usually she like immediately goes to Chrysalis, so now they're like I guess this was like the backtrack moment.
I guess, yeah. Oh, two other things I want to mention. One is the amulets. We didn't talk about that. Uh,
But
the laser amulet, which blows up the boat. Yeah, that was greatly absurd. I loved that.
he's like, use this to kill one of your sisters. Okay, Dad.
It escalates properly at the end of the episode. That's like typically what the
Also,
show would
the
do.
family fortune is in blues records.
Or was that just a diversion because the amulet is the family fortune? But then it blows up, so no, right?
No, like I'm pretty sure it was like he invested in blues records, and
Well,
that
he
is the
says that,
inheritance.
yeah. I guess I like that connects the two stories, and then Rad is outside there at the end too. That's the other thing I wanted to say when I was stuttering for like 3 minutes earlier. But it's yeah, it's I like that the B plot actually connects to the A plot. We've talked about this with one of the shows we cover. I don't even know which one, but it's the connecting plot line. Oh, Rick and Morty. This was a big thing I had with Rick and Morty when the B plot actually connects with the A plot, but then it actually does it here. I think that also worked last episode properly too, though. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well.
Last thoughts on lasers and liars. Why is it called
Oh my
and
God.
liars?
Well, I guess because the sisters were lying.
I'm assuming this is a play on it, some other title. Blank and liars. I don't know.
Who knows?
What last thoughts on this episode?
It was amazing and pizzazz. Like, oh my God, a pizzazz episode. It was,
Best
it was
best
everything I had hoped.
best episode of the show.
I don't know if it's the best episode of the show, but it's certainly my favorite.
Okay, interesting. I think it's best and probably favorite. Next week is CopCon. During the CopCon police event,
God.
Zazzle and Pizzazz enjoy their annual romantic tryst. What?
What? What?
With the Moonbeam City
What?
with the Moonbeam City PD absent, the criminal element literally cleans up the town. Okay, that we have that to look forward to.
Excited.
And then apparently, I think there's
Maybe
only
like the episode, but like on crack.
I think there's only 2 episodes left, so we will see.
No.
I'm not sure though.
What am I gonna do? No pizzazz.
Yeah, I know. Gonna just have to watch Elizabeth Banks and other things then, I guess.
Darn it. Well, I mean, that's not really a downside, but
Gonna have to watch what's it called 2? Oh, Pitch Perfect 2, like constantly.
fine.
That's your
Worth
punishment
it.
now. Okay. She's directing the third one too. That was news this week.
Exciting.
I'm Dylan Hysen, that's Delaney Stovall. You can find out everything about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can support the podcast at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, Shayna, Mitch, Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, and Jamie, aka Hannah, Fever, Mitch, Cordell, University, Beatrice, Exchange, Buzz Lightyear, and Mailman. We'll be back covering Moonbeam City next week. Our next podcast is Sunday for the second episode of the third volume of Ruby. And next week's podcasts are looking like just Rebels, Moonbeam City, and Ruby because who knows when the next Gravity Falls is, or Steven Universe. That's great. We'll have fun with that. Yeah, we'll see. Apparently, there's an article saying there is a Gravity Falls at the end of November. I'm aware of that. It doesn't mean it's the next one, though. So we'll see. Yeah. Last thoughts? No? You good?
Pizzazz Bay.
Pizzazz's Bay, okay. I think I'm firmly on Chrysalis's Bay now. After this
Okay,
listless
fair.
incident. It's fair, okay. Well, we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.